Yo, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy Naruto Explained here, bringing you guys a review for Boruto episode 151. And before I give you guys the usual, Boruto episode 151 is done and in the books. We gotta talk about that intro. Oh my god, you anime only fans, I gotta talk to you for a second. Holy shit, man. Did that intro for the episode, did that not spoil a bunch of stuff that happens in the manga? Yo, manga only fans, or manga mainly reader fans, however you want to kind of term them, they know what that car greatness is. They know who that figure is that was popping up. There were a lot of key scenes that happened, in particular in the Kawaki arc, which takes place after the Owl arc of the Boruto manga. Dude, you guys are in for a treat. If the anime decides to go full steam ahead, you guys are in for a treat. That's all I can say. That opening, I wasn't a fan of the song, but the opening sequences and just like the opening period, hell, I will hit mute and watch that opening sequence because god damn, that was just beautiful. Like the fight scenes that you happen in Konoha, with Konoha appearing to be destroyed and then all of a sudden it gets rebuilt at the end. You have the shadowy figure, who I'm not going to spoil who that is for anime onlys, but you got a very important shadowy figure that's walking alongside Boruto, cloaked in the darkness. Oh my god, yo, you guys have no idea what's getting ready to come, man. Like, they chose the perfect episode to reveal a lot of that stuff. Like, I think my favorite reveal in the opening was, it wasn't when Jigen took off his hood, okay? It wasn't when Jigen took off his hood, but it was the subtle stuff of how you see Boro's arm switch out. And I think it was actually Bar B, who, if you guys aren't subscribed to Bar B, make sure you subscribe to him. But Bar B said, I think that's gonna be Boro who's fighting against Shikadai and the members of Team Moegi. He absolutely nailed that one. But my favorite was the very subtle reveal of Delta and Kashi and Koji. Like, we're in for a treat. That's all I can say. That's all I can say. I might do a separate video breaking down the opening sequences and everything, and like the different spoilers that are teased in the opening. If that's something you guys are interested in, I might do that. But with all that out the way, let's go ahead and get into Boruto episode 151. Yo, the moment we've been waiting for a very, very long time. Boruto's Karma Seal activates, and I've been saying for a long time, a lot of you guys kept saying like, man, you know, you kept saying Mujina Bandits, this is gonna be a really important arc. You know, I hadn't seen anything super special yet. Hozuki Castle portion, that was absolutely boring. Oh, we got Boruto babysitting the feudal lord's son. I'm not into this. You clickbaited me, you lied. Now you see why I kept hyping this arc up, because this arc in particular, the ending here was promoted as being the end of the prologue, because Car pops up at the very end and you see the prologue has ended. And so here's the thing, right? Here's the thing. The reason why this is so big is, as you can tell from the opening, not everything that happened in the opening happens in the manga, but a lot of stuff that is in the opening is foreshadowing for stuff that's going to come later on. There's a whole mood shift that happens, okay? And Boruto getting that Karma Seal and it interfering with this ability to mold chakra, all of that ties into the stuff that we're getting into the manga right now. So I just have to throw that out there. Like, this is why I kept saying for a year or so that the anime needs to adapt this arc. So I love that moment, how they did it very subtly, where you saw the first time Boruto used the Rasengan. The Rasengan appeared at first to be normal size, but it might have been done on purpose with animation, or it might have been something that was just a one-time fluke. But for a moment, the size of the Rasengan flickered for a second. So that was the first clue that, okay, Boruto's Karma Seal is getting ready to activate. And then sure enough, later on in the episode, Boruto's hand, all of a sudden you see the Karma starting to glow. The Rasengan gets absorbed into the Karma. Like, this was really, really, really nice. And I gotta give this, like, you know, for everybody that said, oh, I don't like the Hozuki Castle portion, this Boruto versus Shojoji fight is essentially paying off all that stuff you got in Hozuki Castle. Because in the manga, the Boruto versus Shojoji fight was very quick. So in the anime version, they tied in everything that you got in the Hozuki Castle portion. So they did a good job of funneling, where they started very, very wide with all these different story elements all over the place. And then towards the end, when you get to the final conflict, everything kind of ties in together. That's funneling. Here's the thing, right? They did a good setup. They did a really good setup of having Shojoji basically bait Boruto. Okay, they did a really good job of saying like, oh yeah, I was at Hozuki Castle. Oh, I was the one who was actually Tsukio. Oh, I was the one who ended up being Kokiri. You know, you guys hand delivered them to me. Like, this was really, really, really good. And the reason why I love this setup for the fight is you got this moment where Tento is trying to talk sense into Boruto. It's like, Boruto, it's okay. He grabs his hand. The little subtle things like that. It did a really good job of just paying off that moment where when Boruto hears Kokiri's name, all of a sudden you see this enraged look on Boruto's face, and that's the one thing that draws him out of hiding. So I like that. And I gotta say this, right? I gotta say this. Like, normally, you know, when we get to fights like this, I always hope that the anime, for the Boruto anime at least, because you guys know I'm not a big fan of how the action sequences are drawn in the manga, so I always hope that they flesh things out. They added some really, really nice additions to the Boruto versus Shojoji fight, but I thought they did a really good job when it comes to Boruto versus his underlings. Like, there were a few dialogue changes, like Shojoji, if I'm not mistaken, in the manga, Shojoji tells the bandits to kill them, and then after Boruto actually takes down all the Mujina bandits, that's when he's like, okay, you know what, I'm gonna take your brain. So I thought that was cool, and I like how Shojoji breaks down his jutsu for Boruto. That's like your classic shonen trope, but like when it comes to Boruto taking down the underlings, like the reason why I thought that was really, really good is it just shows you that Boruto, unlike Naruto, so like if that was Naruto, 12-year-old Naruto would have just bum rushed straight for Shojoji, shadow clones all over the place. With Boruto, it was a quiet and controlled rage. Like, that's something that you see with Minato. That's something that you see with a character like Itachi, where they're absolutely pissed, they're absolutely livid, but you can only see glimpses of it, but when they fight, it's in a very cold and methodical manner. Like, I love seeing that right there. They definitely played up the difference in Boruto and Naruto, so I thought that was really, really nice to actually see that part. Now, when it comes to the actual Boruto versus Shojoji fight, I loved it. I loved it because, like I said, in the manga, it's very, very quick. It was, like I said, it was a cool fight in the manga, but at the same time, like, I like how the anime went out of its way to have additional scenes to where you guys are seeing what I was talking about when I talked about Shojoji, and I said, like, this guy's really, really huge, but he's very fast for his size. He's deceptively fast, and you see that in this episode. On more than one occasion, he is at the point where he's about to tag Boruto, and Boruto's like, oh shit, this guy's really quick for his size, and he throws Boruto off. And I like the little small things, like, cause like I said, they had a few moments where they directly adapted the manga portion of the fight. So when Boruto headbutts Shojoji, straight from the Boruto manga, love that part. But adding the additional scenes where he's using his wind style jutsu to deflect the attacks, and you see Boruto using all the strategy and just the different methods, where he's using the Gale Palm jutsu, at the same time he's using the Rasengan. He's trying to see if Shojoji can block multiple attacks all at once. You see Boruto trying to use all the diversions. He's using shadow clones in the way that shadow clones are supposed to be used, and you see little moments like that. You see little moments where Boruto's mixing everything in there and doing his best to try and catch this very, very talented ninja. And don't make a mistake. I've seen some people meme about Shojoji. I'm guilty of it, but the guy is very fucking talented. The guy's very talented. That jutsu would be something else. Like I've talked about in my Shojoji video, the main thing that holds this guy back is that this guy doesn't take his training seriously enough. Like that's one of the things that differentiates himself from Boruto and other ninja, is that Shojoji has an overpowered ability. It lets him take other people's memories and their jutsu, and he hasn't really built on his own jutsu, which is ironic given the fact that he has an admiration for Orochimaru, someone who wants to know every jutsu and is constantly looking to improve himself. So again, I like the dynamics that you got with the characters here. Another thing I liked is how, once they set it up for Boruto to start failing, that's when they have Tento show up, and Tento throws the shuriken. That's why I told you guys, like, hey, pay attention to Tento's shuriken training, because them adding the extra scenes, because it was very brief in the manga, adding the extra scenes, they're gonna pay this off later on. This is what I was referring to. The one thing I did notice that I was a little upset with was the fact that when Boruto uses the lightning style shuriken jutsu, in the manga, if I'm not mistaken, the way that was referred to was an Uchiha style shuriken jutsu. So I would have liked to have seen something there, but not having it stated, I'm completely okay with it. It's just I would have liked to actually seen that, because it would have you know, further press down into people's heads like, oh shit, this is Sasuke's student. That's pretty cool. So he's mastered the jutsu that Sasuke was teaching him. I would have liked to have seen something like that, because at the end of the versus Momoshiki arc, you know, you have the line in there where Sasuke tells him like, look, like once you've mastered the jutsu I've taught you, once you've mastered the basics of lightning style jutsu, I'll resume your training. And we know that Sasuke and Boruto, they have their training resumed in between the Mujina Bandits arc and in between the actual start of the Owl arc of the manga. Sasuke trains Boruto a little bit. So I like that you actually see stuff like this kind of coming in here. So I think that once we get to the sparring match with Boruto and Naruto, we're actually going to see more of the jutsu that Sasuke taught him. So I thought that that part right there was cool. Now the other thing is I like how they incorporated Team 7. That was pretty much straight from the manga. I'm okay with that part because you needed a very quick sequence there. You didn't really need filler scenes added to the fight to flesh it out, because at this moment, you know, the real sense of danger had been hammered in there, because the art for the scene leading up to it where Boruto's karma's flickering and you see like the stress and strain look on his face, and then the shock, and you see the shock on Shojoji's face. Really good artwork there. You know, there are a few times where I did notice some still frames, but not gonna nitpick over that. But you know, I really feel like, you know, when it comes to like the fight sequences and everything for this episode, very fluid. You can tell they saved some of their budget for this, and you can tell that the animation team wasn't relying just on art, but in this case they're making the movements very fluid. You know, art and animation's two separate things, but they go hand in hand. So I like how there was a perfect balance in this episode. You know, there were a few times where if you want to nitpick, if you really want to nitpick, you can point some stuff out, but that's with any anime. Anybody can go through and go frame by frame and find little small moments where it's like, what the fuck just happened here? So I'm not gonna do that. I'm really not gonna do that. But I am gonna say this. I like, again, how, you know, they crammed in quite a bit in this episode. Like, I like how Shojoji gets taken back to Konoha, and you get this moment where they add in the extra dialogue where Konohama's like, look, given the circumstances, you know, it's okay. I understand that you guys had to go after Shojoji. I'm sorry to hear about Kokiri. In our line of work, that type of stuff happens. I mean, I love that right there. I really love that. I like how, you know, Sai even says like, you know, taking down Shojoji, you know, the leader of the Mujina Bandits, you know, that's a hell of a prize there. You know, that's essentially like if Naruto and Team 7 would have taken down Zabuza, okay? Like, technically they got credit with it, but, you know, Zabuza's already down for the count. Like, if they would have did that without Kakashi, that's what this is the equivalent of. Now, I know Zabuza and Shojoji, two different ninjas. Zabuza is on a higher playing field, but I'm just talking in the sense of the threat level. So, I mean, I like this right here. I really like this moment right here. And I also like how, you know, for a moment you saw Sai's new team, the team that Sai inherited. I like how you actually see that stuff right there, to where, you know, they're playing part in the mission as well. So I thought that was a nice little inclusion. That was a very nice little inclusion. Very cool to see. The other thing was, most importantly, Sasuke shows up. And when Sasuke shows up at the end of the episode, you know, I've been teasing this for a while. I kept saying like, look, like, Shojoji, I ain't saying nothing. I ain't telling nobody nothing. And then Sasuke breathes. He's like, oh man, okay, I'm gonna talk like a bitch. I'm gonna tell you everything I know about Car. I don't know much, but this is everything I know. Like, I love that right there. And I like how the anime, I was worried that they weren't gonna capture the facial expression of Sasuke well enough. And I like how the anime, before they actually reveal Sasuke's Rinnegan full out, you actually see when Sasuke comes in, Sasuke's hair, little small details. This is why I love this shit. So Sasuke's hair is completely covering up his Rinnegan, okay? And then once he starts approaching Shojoji, the hair parts a little bit and you see the Rinnegan from the side. And then when Sasuke tells Shojoji, like, look, you know, you survived the underworld. You've been in there long enough. You know what happens when I want intel. People who work in the underworld know my name. And you see Sasuke's Rinnegan all the way activated, and he's just looking at Shojoji. I love that. I love that right there. I love that. Was really small attentions to detail, but very good in this instance. So I thought that, you know, that was cool. I like how, you know, you actually see the car members and how he's even saying, like, you know, Boruto's mark on his hand is different than Orochimaru's curse mark. So I mean, I like how they're setting this up right there. I like how they're setting all that information up. Now, I will end off with this. I'm gonna have 2-episode questions. So I'm gonna go ahead and start with the anime only fans. What were your thoughts about the Mujina Bandits arc now that we've seen everything tied up from the Hozuki Castle portion to Boruto's Karma Seal activating when he fights against Shojoji? What are your thoughts about the arc as a whole? Now, for the manga readers, I want to know from you guys, out of everything that we saw in the opening, what are you most hyped for the future anime adaptation of the Boruto manga? What are you most hyped for? I am going to reiterate something that got said at Jump Fiesta. Kodachi did say that in 2020, you are going to see Kar, you are going to see Kwaki, you are going to see Jigen. These are characters we are going to see. So whether or not that means we're going all the way up to the Kwaki arc, which it looks like we are, what are you most excited to see based on the opening? But as always, guys, if you like anything I had to say, don't forget to comment, rate, subscribe, and share. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. Have an awesome day, guys.